Okay, so this video is what Gemini and Virgo can learn from each other. And I picked Gemini and Virgo because, well, one, I'm a Virgo, so I know a lot about Virgos. And also, Gemini and Virgo are both ruled by Mercury. And if you know anything about Mercury, you know that Mercury is a very fast paced planet that deals with communication and your thoughts and things of that nature. With them both being ruled by Mercury, I do think there are some similarities with Gemini and Virgo, especially when it comes to their mind. Okay, so I'm not talking romantic, compatibility right now, but just like general conversation, friendship, things like that. I've found that Geminis and Virgos tend to get along really well. And I think it's because there's usually a shared thought process. And it doesn't mean they always have exactly the same opinions, but you'll notice because they're just natural, inquisitive, intellectual, just mindset, just that idea that they love to communicate, they love to talk. Virgo now is a little bit more reserved in some situations than Gemini, especially in social situations, but that's because Virgo likes to talk about big ideas, and like small talk doesn't usually get a Virgo that interested. But get a Virgo talking about something they know a lot about and they will talk your ear off. Whereas Gemini is very social. Gemini wants to connect with everybody through conversation. Okay, they're a little bit more free in that aspect. But I think in general, Gemini and Virgo get along well, especially on the surface level. Okay, so what can they learn from each other? Okay, these signs, what can they learn? They're very, they're different. Gemini is an air sign. Virgo is an earth sign. There's some differences there. So what can they learn? So let's start with what Gemini can learn from Virgo. Okay, so as we know, Virgos are known for being very timely, very detail-oriented, sticking to deadlines. They like to get things done effectively and efficiently, okay? And some people underrate that because they're like, oh, that's just, getting something done. It's not interesting. Like, no, actually, like, you want something done well, get you a Virgo. So they'll see the project all the way through. I think that Gemini can learn from Virgo a little bit how to tone down that airiness and really stick to deadlines. And again, I'm speaking in generalities. People have different influences in their chart, but I'm just saying in general, Gemini can learn how the Virgo kind of sticks to deadlines and sees things through. Geminis have such great information. They have such great ideas, but sometimes they struggle to actually see that idea to fruition. Okay? And another thing I think that Gemini can learn from Virgo is how to set the example for others. And here's what I mean by this. Virgos have a tendency or a reputation, a reputation for being nitpicky or critical. And, that's the negative side of Virgo, or the negative reputation. They're nitpicky, they're critical, they're perfectionists, nothing's good enough. But what you have to understand is that the Virgo has the same expectations for themselves. The Virgo has the same standards that they put on you, they put on themselves. Let's say a Virgo is a boss, right? Or a manager, and they tell everybody, you need to be at work at 8 o'clock, not a minute later. We all need to be here on time. That Virgo is going to be on time. Okay? That Virgo is going to uphold what they told you to do. Or let's say the Virgo is doing a project with you or something, or you have to work on something together, and the Virgo's like, okay, like we all have to do this, we all have to do our part. The Virgo's going to do their part and then some. So what Gemini can learn from this is Gemini means well, but because of the air element, a lot of Geminis sometimes, and again, I'm generalizing, so don't get upset. I'm about to do what Virgo can learn from Gemini in a minute. What Gemini can learn is how to stick to what they say, because what can happen is, remember, Gemini, the sign of the twins, that duality, okay? There's two forces there sometimes that almost kind of go up against each other in a way, right? So when you think of that, you think of the fact of like, well, if the Gemini says, we all have to be here at 8 o'clock, sometimes the Gemini won't even be there themselves on time. And that can cause some people to view them as a hypocrite. And I don't think they mean to come across that way. But it's like sometimes they can just do things that they told other people not to do, and then it comes across as hypocritical to other people. We're like, hey, like, how are you going to tell me to do this and you didn't even do it? So that's one thing I think that Gemini can borrow from Virgo. Now, what can Virgo borrow from Gemini? Okay, two sides of the coin. All right. So one thing I think that Gemini does very well is Gemini knows how to kind of have fun and let loose, but also be kind of responsible. I wouldn't say they're impulsive necessarily, but I would say that Gemini is the type of sign that kind of lives life. Okay, they like culture, they like events, they like things, they like ideas, but they also have that social aspect. So someone can call a Gemini up on a Friday night and be like, hey, there's this concert in town, I have an extra ticket, you want to go? And if the Gemini likes the musician, their artist, they're going to say like, yeah, let's go, that sounds cool. Or there's a certain exhibit at a museum, you call it a Gemini up, well, they love to learn, so like they're going to be all in it, right? You call a Virgo up and a Virgo's gonna be like, well, I already had plans to sit at home tonight and watch Netflix, or I already had plans to do X, Y, and Z. Or the Virgo might say, well, I don't know if I have anything to wear. Like, what should I wear? What should I, what time are we talking here? What time am I getting home? Again, I'm stereotyping, but that's what a Virgo might do, right? They want to ask 50 questions instead of just saying, okay, cool, I'll go, okay? Whereas the Gemini wants to explore life, the Virgo has to have such a strict deadline, okay, or strict plan. And I think sometimes that stops Virgo from truly enjoying life, is having to be so restricted. So who, what, when, where, why, how are we getting there, when are we getting back? Now, don't get me wrong, that can be positive in some aspects. I'm not telling Gemini and Virgo to abandon who they are, but just like borrow a little bit from each other, right? So the second thing I think that Virgo can learn from Gemini is, again, so the first thing I started this with was I was telling you that Virgo is about getting things done effectively, efficiently, on time, before time. Like, they're about getting things done, seeing things all the way through, being very, very responsible, hardworking, all that, right? But sometimes, Virgo, there's not time for that. Sometimes you have to make a decision. If you're in a meeting and somebody's soliciting ideas, what's going to happen is that Gemini, their mind works fast, Mercury, but their mind also works fast, air, that element there, which is influences them, right? So the Gemini is going to have the idea and you're going to spit it out. And the boss might say, oh, that's a good idea. Or not boss. Let's say you're in with a group of friends. Wherever you are, the Gemini is not going to overthink what they say. They're going to be like, well, I think this. And the Gemini will kind of keep talking, and maybe they'll mold that idea into something better, even if it doesn't sound great at first. Virgo has such great ideas, but Virgo, we got to learn how to let go sometimes and just say what we think instead of thinking so long. Sometimes you miss opportunities because you're taking so long, because everything has to be perfect. You have to think things out. How will it sound if I say this? But if I say this, what if they think this? And sometimes, Virgo, we have to borrow from Gemini and just kind of gauge a situation and be able just to share out our ideas, not be so locked into deadlines, not be so locked into perfection, okay? So those are the things that I think Gemini and Virgo can learn from each other. The next time I will be comparing Virgo and Scorpio. What can Virgo and Scorpio learn from each other? All right. So if you like this video, please hit the like button, and I will see you later.